Hey everybody, it's your old pal Duke the Noob here, and I want to talk about my friend and yours, Miss Harleen Quinzel, aka Harley Quinn, DC's favorite abused young lady. So today I'm going to be beating up on the Joker because, I want to get some of that reverse spousal abuse happening here. And I'm just going to talk about Harley, and I picked her exclusively because I like dual pistol characters. Noticed that I played Stryker and MK, and I also have always liked her as a character. Plus, her Arkham skin is pretty cool, and. So first off, I'm going to talk a little bit about Harley's movement. I think movement is a big part of a character. Her walk speed, not that great. I don't think anyone's walk speed is really great in this game. Hers seems pretty similar to everyone else's. She has a big long dash, not unlike everyone else. It's kind of long. It definitely can get interrupted by zoning and such. You can see it's like that. Her backdash is really nice. She has a really nice long backdash, seems to have a great deal of invulnerability, not unlike the infamous Chun-Li backdash. So I do dig that about her. She also has a command dash. Now, unfortunately, unlike MK, you can't cancel anything out of her dashes, command or otherwise, except for this one move there. Now, this is sort of nice because, one, if you get that, you get full combo. And you also have the option of, if you want to be a little bit safer, canceling into that, which is harder to punish. Not unpunishable, harder to punish. So, keep in mind, there is no safety out of a command dash. Except maybe, trying to throw. But as you can see, unless you cancel into this, you are going to be standing there for a long time. Look at that animation. Here's how soon I can block. Like, it's forever. So, that's Harley Quinn's movement. Doesn't have an air dash. Doesn't have really any air movement abilities except one. She can use her gunshot in the air to stop her forward jump momentum, which is actually really important, especially because you can use it pretty much anywhere. There is a minimum height. It's right about there. If I try to do it below that, you see I'm doing instant air, not getting it. So, yeah, right about there is minimum height. But you can also do it almost until you hit the ground again. Like, look. And that can definitely, if you have an opponent who loves to try and anti-air you when you jump in with your 2, which is your normal jump in, you can just stop that, mess with them, maybe burn some meter to give them, a little bit of the fear of that. So I consider that a movement ability, even though it's also a damaging move. Next up, I'm going to talk about Harley's normals, and there's not too much exceptional about them. You have the 1, you have her 2, you have her 3. Her 3 is really slow, but most 3s in this game are. There's nothing great about them. The only normal that really deserves mention is her D1, which, of course, just like MK, huge pressure tool. And it can be special canceled. Although I highly suggest that you turn off your what's it called? Turn off your input negative edge. That's it. Release. That's what they call it in this game. Yeah, you turn that off because if you have that on, then doing something like doing a D1 to that is always going to give you the gunshot instead. But, if you turn it off, you can go ahead and do D1 to D1 to Tantrum Stance and go ahead and start a combo off for D1, which will come up a little bit later when we talk about punishing stuff. So those are really her normals of notes. Her D2 is an anti-air, but it's a pretty bad anti-air. And her D3 is a sweep. Her sweep isn't terrible, it isn't fantastic. It has decent range because it has the little gunshot, but it doesn't actually have as much range as her back 2, which we'll get to talking to when we talk about chains. Finally, it's not one of her normals, but it's one of her buttons, her trait. There are 3 things you can get. You can get the Joker picture, which gives you a brief 30% damage boost, which, if you can land a combo after getting it, is amazing. You can get the Rose, Ivy's Rose, which gives you a little bit of health back. You can watch her health regen there. That can be kind of useful, especially if you're zoning and you land a knockdown. And then the last possible one, which we're just going to wait here for us to get it, is the unblockable bomb, which, as you saw, gives you a juggle, but, you know, you can't rely on it because there is no set order. You know, I got Rose that time, got Rose that time, got Joker picture, got the bomb that time. So it's not exactly, even though it's an unblockable tool and it does lead to a combo, it's not exactly something I would ever really rely on. In fact, her trait in general just seems a little dangerous because, like, even if you, like, let's say I go ahead here, well, let's pretend I actually hit him. I'm canceling into it. You can see that I still couldn't block, even after canceling into it after a string. The only string I think it might be safe to cancel into after is this one. Nope, even then. So scratch that. It's never safe. So next up I want to talk about her chains. I think, you know, it flows naturally from her normals. So the chains that I think are most relevant are her 1-2, which in general, it's actually 1-2-3, but I never use the 3. The only times I use the 1-2 are in combos because it's a great combo ender. You know, you can cancel stuff off it. It is alright for pressure. You can cancel things off it. Point in using it because it the main thing I use it for is just to end combos, because you can do 1-2 play doctor to get a reset, or you can do 1-2 gunshot for a knockdown. It's nothing great, nothing bad. All these chains I'm listing are in fact safe, although they do have a little bit of different properties depending on how you use them. The second chain I want to mention is her 2-up-3. Now this chain is the launcher that I use off of a jump-in. See that? Get a nice combo there. So you get... It's pretty quick. The 2 comes out. It just links right off that. You can use it at close range, like that range, to try and start a combo, because it is safe. It puts you a little more neg on block than the 1-2. But it's alright. It's a launcher, so, you know, leads to good things. It's easy to confirm off of because you have all that time to set up, you know, like a 3 there. Finally, this chain is actually... Well, first I'm going to talk about a third chain. This is her overhead. This is forward 2. Now, there's a couple of ways to use this. You can use forward 2-3, which is the whole chain, and that does 14% damage, and you can make that... you can turn that into a little bit more by following it with the anti-air gunshot. You can see that gets you 17%. Nothing fantastic. It's really hard to follow that with anything meaningful because it, you know, is all the way there. You can't actually follow it with a stage transition attack or anything. However, with forward 2, you don't need to do the 3. You can actually do forward 2 canceled into that, and then you will get a full combo. Assuming I actually hit this once. There you go. See? Full combo there. So the forward 2 is nice that way. It's sort of like subs overhead. You can kind of hit confirm it. You can do the cancel fairly late. You can do the cancel right there. Still not perfect, but definitely nice, and I would definitely use that over this. And it's also nice because it's this close range overhead that is not in fact that. And it gives you a little bit of a mix-up because you also have Tantrum Stance 2, which is a low. You also have D1 Tantrum Stance, which we've already seen. Although, you know, D1 has kind of crap range. Like, there you aren't going to hit it. But you can always go for those as lows, too. So, yeah, that gives her her low-high mix-up game with the, that right there. And then the final, and I think most important, also a low, is this one, which is back 2. For one thing, it has amazing range. It is a great punisher for anything that's stuck out. Even like a D1, you can see, like, if he's doing a D1 at this kind of range, he's going to get tagged by that. And what's really nice about it is on block, even if you do the whole string, which is 2 hits, you don't actually get the whole thing to come out. So you can kind of do what's a Street Fighter trick, which is you can do back 2-2 and then cancel to tantrum stance, and you can do that, and if he blocks it, it doesn't come out. See, there I did it. It all hits, but I'm going to turn him to block all, and I'm going to do the whole input. That was the whole input, both hits and cancel to tantrum stance. And as you can see, it doesn't come out, and I can block in time to stop his reversal. So that is really awesome. It is her ultimate poking tool because it has such stupid good range, and it punishes pretty much anything your opponent is going to do here. And that's, you know, sort of Harley's optimal range. That's also where you can get a jump in. That's also where you can, you know, command dash in if you want to get a little ballsy. So yeah, lots of options there. And just to show you, since I have him on block all and reversal, see, that will beat some reversals. That's why it's safer. It's not safe because if he blocks that as well, you're in trouble. But if your opponent, you know, sees the tantrum stance and tries to do something about it, that will stop them. So now we're going to specifically talk about the special moves, including tantrum stance. So her first special move is Line of Fire, which is just a straightforward little gunshot. A decent zoning tool. It's not slow, it's not super quick, it's kind of middle of the road. It's one hit, but you can go ahead and meter burn on it to get 2. That'll break some armor and things. You know, it's great for building some meter here at the other end of the screen. And, of course, online in the lovely input delay ridden netcode, it's really annoying to stop, so I've won entire matches by just sitting here and doing this all day. But that's pretty much what a lot of people are doing. So the next one to look at is Heads Up, which is her air version of Line of Fire. We're going to show this. I'm actually going to have him... Yeah, I'll just have him jump. It's sort of an anti-air, and it can also hit if you do it close high, so it's kind of nice, but the problem is it is super slow to start up. As you can see, like, if I do it on reaction to him jumping, it hits, but that's only if he's neutral jumping. If he were jumping at me, he'd be in. So it's something you sort of have to do on anticipation, not unlike Batman's Grapple. Thankfully, unlike Batman's Grapple, it doesn't do as much, and you can make it a little safer by meter burning it and adding the second hit, because then they're dealing with, you know, 2 rounds coming at them. So it's alright. It's definitely something that at this sort of range you might want to use just to screw with your opponent's attempts to get in. But it's not a move I see myself using a whole lot. So her next special move is Pop Pop. This is her chargeable gunshot. It's a little bit slow to start. It has 4 different variations. You have the uncharged, which is a 5% damage mid. You can see it moves very quick. You have the slightly longer charge, which deals a little bit more damage. You have the almost full charge, which actually hits his overhead, which is really cool. And it gets pretty slow, as you see. I believe it's 3 seconds for the overhead. It's 2 seconds for the higher damage mid. And then holding the thing to the very end gives you this super duper slow unblockable one. And that one's nice because you can do, if you ever get it off, you know, and your opponent let you charge that long, you can go in behind it and you're basically safe. Especially because, you know, in MK, or in Injustice, projectiles don't remove each other, so your opponent can't really do anything to get that off the screen. Now, you can also meter burn it, and if you do that, it cancels the actual animation of the gun firing, and gives you the ability to move very quickly thereafter. See, so there I can actually be on him the moment it comes off. However, there is one downside to this move. Oh, also, during the charge, you can dash forward or dash back to get out. That can be fun for a sort of mind game if your opponent is getting tired of your zoning here. You can set it up on knockdowns very easily. You know, get a knockdown on him, and then after knocking him down, you just set it up, and you're like, oh, am I going to release it? Is it going to be an overhead? Is it going to be the real slow one? Yeah, so it does have that use, but it also has this one little issue, which is 1 in 10 times on full charge, you get that. And when you get that, all that animation is there for you to be hit. You are going to eat a full combo. And that's why the full charge version is sort of scary. Now, I've heard about a few people trying things like canceling a string with it, and I can kind of see how that's okay, but the problem is if they're blocking, yeah, you're going to eat that. I think that people have mentioned that the 1-2 string is in fact cancelable to it, and it's safe if you backdash. So that's a thought if you were using the 1-2 string, but the 1-2 string is also just safe if you just block, so, you know. So that's Pop Pop. The next one is her command dash, but we've already pretty much talked at length about that, so, you know, just remember you can cancel it to her tantrum stance to get, you know, a couple of things. You can get a little bit of safety off the gunshot version. So, yeah. Tantrum stance has come up a lot already. It's her stance move. You do it by doing down to back and then 3. And it starts out with a little drop kick and it lays her on the ground. So the 3 moves that come out of it are a Sonya-style cartwheel kick that looks like an overhead, but it's not. However, it does lead to full combo. So it is a really important tool, especially because its range is deceptively long. The second move that comes out of it is a low. It also has decent range. You can see it there. It's not safe, so, you know, watch yourself using it. But it does give you a surprise low. And then the final move that comes out of it is this little anti-air kind of gunshot that is also very tricky because it puts you stay low to the ground for so long, and that makes it pretty tricky to punish. And, of course, you can also roll back out of it or roll forward out of it. So that's Tantrum Stance, really useful. One of her, I would consider it her main hit confirm because that cartwheel kick leads to all the meaningful combos I know of with her. You also have the air version of her gunshot, which is called Oopsie Daisy. You can see it there. We already talked about it a little because it's useful for changing her trajectory in midair. It can also be useful just because, you know, it can be a round ender. You can get 9% damage if you meter burn it, and, you know, overhead gunshots are, you know, overheads are annoying enough as it stands. The fact that you can, you know, make them a gunshot is kind of neat. And, you know, it gives you a little bit of a mix-up with, like, an empty jump throw or whatever if it's the end of the round and you need that last little bit of damage. Special of note that's a bit of a zoning special is her Cupcake Bomb. Now, the way you do this is with back forward medium. It has a little bit of a slow startup, but it's an overhead from the ground, which is neat. And it has that nice splash on it. Unfortunately, it does whiff at absolute full screen. It has a very set distance. And the meter burn version is actually one of the best specials she has, in my opinion. For one thing, you can follow it with that. For another thing, it just knocks them down forever. So if you do it against someone who's maybe annoyingly zoning, it gives you a chance to go ahead and get into a range where you might actually be able to do something against them. It's also one of the few ways to get, you know, a full screen safe trait use. So you can, you know, maybe get that damage boost or whatever else you need. So yeah, pretty cool move, and definitely useful. I definitely think it's the best move to spend meter on. You can also combo after the metered one, get a gunshot there. You see it nets you another 3% damage, which might come in handy at some point. Her final special move, which I'm going to kind of segue into combos, is this. It's command grab. It's done with down, back, forward, and weak, although it's easiest to do by doing down, roll to back, and then forward, especially if you're on a stick like me. You can see there it is. If you spend meter on it, it adds a little poison, which can be useful for, see it continues ticking for a little bit. The poison can be useful if, you know, you're finishing the round or whatever. Poison doesn't interrupt anything, it just sits on them. It's also her major combo ender, which is pretty cool because it gives you a standing reset, which we'll get into when we get into combos in a sec. So, combos. I'm going to divide the combo section into enders and starters. So, basically, at a certain point, every combo is going to evolve into this, which is stage transition, jump, jump, 1-2, and then either gunshot for knock. Or the 1-2 and then the play doctor grab for the untechable, or for the standing reset. So it also gives you more damage, so probably you're going to be using this one a lot more than the other. As you can see, that's 30% damage by itself, and we'll talk about how much it does with different openers. In the corner, you're going to do a different variant, because as you can see, if you do that, your options, you, 1, release them from the corner, and 2, landing the jump is kind of a nightmare. So in the corner, you're going to want to do, as the end of your combos, Tantrum Stance A, Forward 1-3, and then I personally like back 1-2-1, play Doctor or Gunshot, depending on whether you want the standing reset or the knockdown. But it is possible to do back 1-2-1, then Gunshot, then 1, then 1-2 play Doctor. That nets you 5% more damage, but the amount of execution and character specificity, you know what I mean. It's character specific. And so in that case, I'm just going to, generally stick to the 1-2-1 instead of doing trying to catch the extra 1-1-2 at the end. So as you can see, there you go. So that's the corner variant. And you can replace that Gunshot at the end with Play Doctor, but I hate the input on it, and I'm still working on making it super consistent, so you get to see the Gunshot at the end. And there are reasons why you may want the knockdown, especially if your opponent is someone who likes to reversal off everything, since, the ability to reversal off everything means that your opponent is predictable, and so you would get a chance to do something. But of course, Play Doctor does give you the standing reset and frame advantage. You can dash in and throw. You can do a jump and be pretty safe because you see it sets you up right at the perfect distance to do a jump, and because they're at neg frames, they're going to have a hard time anti-airing you. So speaking of anti-air, this section is going to be anti-airs and punishes. Now, I think a lot of people don't really think about these things too much, but I want to examine them in somewhat detail. So I'm going to have Joker here just do his jumping, and we're just going to set that to playback now. So here we go, he's going to jump at us over, and we're going to look at what our options are to deal with this jump in. So, one is block. That's always an option. It's a useful one. However, this is MK, or, well, Injustice. It's similar to MK, and everything's safe, and there's a lot of pressure. So one thing you can do is, on the jump in, you can actually hit meter burn to reset things, which can be useful. Now, Harley doesn't have a great anti-air. You have her normal anti-air, which is down 2. It's okay. It has a weird hitbox. You can see if he jumps from a little closer, and you kind of have to do it a little bit early. It trades a lot. Another option is, of course, the anti-air Gunshot, which, as you can see, I kind of have to do predictively. It's very hard to actually do on reaction. See, there's the jump. He actually gets me if I do it on reaction. Also, in regards to punishment and anti-air, there are a couple of options that open up once you have with meter that are worth knowing. One of them is you can do the charged unblockable, get the combo off it, and that's always nice. You can do that with either direction, of course. You can actually do that on reaction to the anti-air. And those are also the easiest way to punish interactables. When they go for the interactable, you just go ahead and do that. Of course, it does cost meter, but, it's nice to be able to do that. And another option, if you just want to do the I want to get the hell out of there, you can watch for the anti-air and then do a command dash under it. Now, that's a little bit dangerous because if they time their jump in right, they can actually cross you up, and certain characters have really big hitboxes on their jump in, so this is more character specific. But, it might give you a chance to then go ahead in behind them and try to do a mix-up or whatever. Certainly, I think it puts you at a decent range to try and land your back 2, which, of course, as we saw, leads into full combo. So there's a couple other anti-air options that you have there. Now, her best anti-air, which is interesting, is actually jumping 2. And the reason for that is that her jump goes up fast, and her 2 seems to have a great hitbox. It actually doesn't trade with that much, and you can do this on reaction. However, the timing is still a little tight, as you just saw there. But the reason for this is your high-risk, high-reward move. You know, the lowest risk is, of course, blocking. The highest risk is this. But if you do it, you have quite a few options because you can land a juggle afterwards. The one I really like is 1-2 tantrum stance gunshots. Now, it's easier if you do that with 2 instead of 1 because they fall a little bit differently. And you can see it is height specific. You want to kind of hit that 1-2 as low to the ground as you can to actually have the whole thing land. See? Right there. And there you get 22% damage. Also, if you have a lot of meter to spend and you just want to finish a round, you have the option of doing 1-2 super. Which, the super is going to be scaled all to crap because of that. But, you know, if you need the damage, you can see it does net you 39% off of an anti-air. And so, if you happen to have 4 bars and they happen to have under 40% health, that's a nice solution. Also, just an aside, it's hard to land, but it is possible to, after your supers, and you have to watch for her recovery here, land the throw to get an extra little bit of damage and to do the little standing reset. So, you know, if you want to really style, always catch the throw after your supers. So the punish you're going to use is going to depend on whether or not the opponent is next to you at the end of the move and how many frames negative the opponent is. Now, thankfully, there is actually frame data in this game, so you can find this out. But if you need to punish quickly, Harley's absolute fastest punish is going to be D1 Tantrum Stance A full combo. Or D1 Tantrum Stance 1 full combo. And that punish is 7 frames, and it only works when your opponent's right next to you. You can see that D1's max range right about there. So, as you can see, D1, Tantrum Stance 1, and there you go. Then your other option, it's 12 frames punish, but it punishes things from much further, and that would be back 2. And, you know, back 2, of course, leads to that, and full combo. So, your options for punish are both of those. As you can see, one gets you 39% damage, and let's see how much the Tantrum Stance one gets you. And the other gets you 33% damage. So those are her 2 main punishes. There's some others. I mean, there are punishes you can do full combo, jump in on. But for moves that end with your opponent at relatively small minus frames next to you, you definitely want to practice doing D1 into Tantrum Stance. And as you can see, the cancel can be a little finicky. Certainly, I suggest you turn off negative edge, because otherwise you'll just get this every time. And you don't want that. You definitely want to get, you know, you saw there's the motion, and I keep getting that. But if I had turned off negative edge, I would get that much more consistently. So that's how you punish with Harley. And now that you know how to punish with Harley, hopefully you have a good feeling for this lovely young lady and everything she has to offer. And don't forget, Kevin Smith named his kid after her, so she's pretty cool. Peace out, homies.